don't know why you're smiling for. You need to stop that as well. Right. Welcome back to Bandit football fans. Look, I was about to even get it wrong. Sorry, I'm a bit rattled about the weekend. But welcome back to Bandit football fans. I'm going to be your host today, Deji. Today we have Ben and we have Callum. We got quite a lot of things. We got quite a lot of things to get through today. It's been a very, very interesting weekend, like a really, really interesting weekend. Obviously for United fans. Also Chelsea fans as well. Some madness going on in the back. Obviously, Liverpool are doing fantastically well.
Same old, innit? Same old. Just get them 3 points and
pretty much.
Makes sense. So yeah, let's start. Let's kick stuff off with obviously the Liverpool and Chelsea game. That was one of the big games of the weekend. Let's start off with you know what? Let's start off with Ben because I think Callum's got a lot to say there. But Ben, what's your feeling on that game?
If I can jump in, first of all, there were two games. So there's Callum's fucking gone, man. I thought that was Callum disappearing. So you had Liverpool versus 11-man Chelsea, and then you had Liverpool versus 10-man Chelsea. And to be fair, up until Christensen went off, I think we were dominating the play. But you couldn't necessarily see where the goal was coming from. And I think the Chelsea team they had a tactic, they played well, they not exactly stopped us, but they were making life difficult for us and they were stopping us playing our usual game. Then Christensen got sent off for like a dumbness. That was just like, I mean, I get it, like, it's in your head, you're like, just bring him down or whatever, but that was just red card all day, like, and then after that, you just didn't have the manpower literally to deal with us. So it's a difficult one to call. I mean, I've said it the last couple of weeks, is it's going to take a good 5 games. Like, we're effectively in pre-season. I know these count, I know there are points available for these games, but at the end of the day, like, teams are still getting into the play of stuff. They hadn't had a proper pre-season, but on the other hand, you spent over 200 million and your club is still a dumpster fire. So
no, you can't say that. They were missing out of their new signings or something like that.
They weren't. They started with Havertz and Werner.
Yeah, that's 2. They still got, who else you still got to come?
2. That's like what, 120 million's worth, 130 million's worth.
That's like, harsh. That's harsh, man.
All I'm saying is just remember, our front line cost just over 100 million.
That's hard.
No, to be fair, what I would say is Chelsea did play well. Like, so I thought I was being too nice for an extended period of time. I thought I just had to throw some shade in there. Like, people watching are going to be like, "What the fuck has happened to Ben?" No, I mean, I think they held us up until Christensen went off. I think that second half would have been a lot more stressful for Liverpool. Like, the longer Chelsea held out. Yeah, I mean, with 11 men, they were kind of pinning us back, and we've had it before with Liverpool where it feels like we're going to get the win. We just keep on going, and then it gets to 80th minute. It's like, oh fuck, we do actually need to score the goal though. And then that panic kind of sets in, and so I think the timing of it as well, just before half time, like he just made Klopp's team talk. You just walk in, and it's like they've got one less man. Just keep doing what you're doing, and they won't be able to keep up anymore.
See, I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, it was a game of 2 halves kind of thing, and I think I do understand. Like, I was watching that game and I was thinking to myself, Liverpool looking a bit suspect. This is a bit unusual. Like, for me, I was like, this is actually Chelsea are doing pretty well, keeping it up and stuff. And then obviously the sending off happened. But with all due respect, even if he didn't get sent off, I think Chelsea still would have lost that game. And the only reason why I say that is only because with how Liverpool keep knocking at the door, they're not going to stop doing it. And I think it's only going to be a matter of time before KEPA done his madness. Do you get what I'm saying?
Shit, man. Do you know what? I forget they have KEPA.
Yeah, which he did. Do you get what I'm saying?
Do you remember in the first half that, to be fair, when he chased Salah out to the corner flag for no reason?
But yeah, no, I think that was always going to happen. But mate, Callum, that back 4 and that back 5 basically.
Bro, honestly, all right, let's just get things out of the way. Christensen, I have no idea even how to describe what he did. The guy rode on his back like a horse.
Who is David Luiz?
You're not even like, do you know what I mean? If the guy's going down towards goal, like at least try and scissor him, like, or use your legs, use the things that you played the game with. Do you know what I mean? It's called football. Use your foot. Oh, mate, I don't know. Like the new law, we all know the new law. Like if you make an attempt to go for the ball, it's a debatable red, more than likely a yellow. If you ride on someone's back, it's an instant red. Yeah,
That's in the rule book.
Just I have not say on Kepa apart from that we just announced Mendy effectively subject to medical, and he should be fit to play against West Brom. And that closes the case on Kepa. Alonso. So basically, what I'm doing is I'm focusing on the three players that basically made the mistakes in the game. Kepa. I'm literally lost for words.
Do you know what? Yeah.
You know what? Sorry. That face for Kepa, and we're only in game week 2. That's like a game week 34 face. One man's tapping out already.
No, for me, there's 3 players made the mistake in it. There was Christensen with the foul on Mane. There was Kepa with the mistake to lead to Mane's second goal, and the first goal, it was Alonso getting done on the 1-2. As we've seen so many times, his agility from a standing start is probably his weakest attribute in his game. I thought so. Yeah, focusing on those 3 players.
Don't you think Kepa should have done better?
For Mane's
the second goal.
Sorry, have I got them confused? Which one was the first one? Was Mane?
I think the second one was the Kepa, where Kepa yeah. Huh?
That was the one where Kepa ballooned it and then right to Mane.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. So
the Kepa mistake was the first one, and then header was the second one.
No, other way around.
No, header was the first one, and then Kepa's was the second one. Yeah.
Sorry, I might have got that. Might have got that.
That's all right. I understand when you're rattled, innit?
Honestly, mate, all sorts is going on. But
so when you're rattled, what does that mean?
Yes.
That's cool. Keep talking. I'll just Google that. Rattled.
Dickhead, honestly. Yeah. Basically, across the 2 goals, those are the 3 players that made the mistake, and in players like Chilwell, obviously at Mendy, we're hopefully getting, and players like Thiago Silva, I'm hoping that we can basically stop making those mistakes effectively. I do think I totally agree with what you're saying. Liverpool are such a threat that they will just keep banging on the door. But until Christensen got sent off, I thought we were doing all right. I thought that playing Werner off the left gave Trent a kind of another thought that he might not have so often, which is there's a player with insane pace behind me, and he's going straight for goal, which kind of might have reduced his ability to bomb forward a lot more as we've seen. So I thought that was interesting from Frank. Alonso played well, apart from a couple of times that we mentioned. I don't really feel like Liverpool had massive chances. There was that ball flashed across the 6-yard box, but apart from that, I can't really find anything apart from apart from the time that Kepa chased out Salah, I think it was, or Firmino.
Just went for a wander.
Yeah.
Just went to check out the corner flag. Just like, is the corner? Yeah, the corner flag's still there.
I saw today. I saw a picture of Kepa, and underneath it just had 72 million British pounds. That's literally what it said. And I sat there and I was like, shit, that's a lot of pounds, That's not even pesos. That's not euros. That's British pounds, That's actually mad. These things happen. You know what? The one thing that I was going to actually bring up as well, obviously in the Prem, a lot of managers are opting in for goalkeepers who can play the ball, who can play football, is what I would like to say in it. Do you think Kepa can do that? Because the reason why I'm asking that question is because the game United played against Crystal Palace, it's not the first time De Gea has done that. He's done that quite a couple of times where not for the goals that we've conceded, but there was a goal in there he conceded where I can't remember who passed the ball back to him, but there was a straight pass and he couldn't make it. And I was like, bro, this guy's not far away from you. It's a straight pass. You didn't need to add curl to it, nothing at all. And he done a madness. And I was like, I've clocked you. I've actually clocked you. Can't play football. You're good at stopping shots and that, but you can't play. That's why you probably like you're gonna lose that ranking of being one of the best goalkeepers. Do you get what I'm saying? So like where Kepa had that chance to, I don't know what he could have done. Mane is quick in it.
With
Yeah.
what? With
Where he passed that, where he received the ball, he was
nah,
meant to pass it out or kick it out or whatever.
Deji, nah. If the guy, all he had to do was just one time pass into Christensen or hoof it, man. It's
Yeah.
simple.
So
He,
you
a
can't
player,
play football then.
It's Christensen. Christensen have been sent off, bro.
Oh yeah. He's rattled.
I'm done. Hey,
Although to be fair, if Christensen was on the bench, that's probably a good place to send the ball. Better than that Mane, just fucking punt it off.
there we go. Whichever centre back was there, just pass him the ball one time, innit? But nah, I think Kepa's distribution is good when he's got time, but under pressure, the guy just crumbles. Yeah,
I feel that way. I feel that way about De Gea, and I think not a lot of people have picked up on that. And I'm like, everyone's looking for this key. Even Pep, was one of the first to do it. Klopp as well, like bringing in, well, for the I've seen anyways, bringing these keepers who can actually play football. Do you know what I mean? If they took off the gloves, I'm not saying they're your next Ronaldo or whatever, but decent touch, decent pass, 1-2s, they're okay under pressure and that. And I feel like De Gea just doesn't have that as a goalkeeper. And I hate.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan. I'm not a fan. I'm not the biggest fan of goalkeepers playing football. If in that situation that Kepa was in, you kick the ball, you clear it. I'm not interested in 1-2s and playing it from the back because that causes too many problems. Do you know what I mean? But obviously, there's teams out there who are doing that, and it works really well.
But there's a difference between having like nice, smooth interplay and putting your foot on the ball and chilling for time. Like, I don't understand what he's doing. You're playing against the fastest, most aggressive, like attackingly aggressive team, arguably in the world. What are you doing? Why do you think that you have that time? And it's nice to see that someone can remain calm in their mind, but clearly shit should not be calm. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Do you know what I mean? You've got Sadio Mane running at you. Get rid of the ball. It's so frustrating. The guy does it. The thing with Kepa is like his mind. You can't see what he's trying to do in his mind. When someone makes a mistake and you're like, oh, I can kind of see what you're doing. I very rarely know what Kepa was trying to do.
See, I asked you this question one time before. I remember in another podcast, and I was like, "Do you think Kepa is naive? Like, do you think he's one of them situations where he thinks he's better than what he is?"
I think that question put to any Premier League footballer, any top level athlete, the answer is always going to be they think they're the best, because very, very rarely does someone get to that level and not believe that they're good enough.
What, Kepa? Do you say Kepa's level or
No.
or Prem level or which level? Because you're not making that one clear.
Stop trying to drill me out. That fishing line gif, innit? No, Prem level, like elite athlete level, basically.
Okay.
It's very rare. So generally, whenever a question like that is asked, the answer has to be yes. Of course, he thinks that he's good enough. But you have the odd person that doesn't deal with stress or nerves well. Christensen is another example. I think it was Sarri or Ancelotti. I can't remember exactly who, but one of our previous managers said that before a game, sometimes Christensen would literally almost be vomiting out of nervousness. Because it really affected their ability to pick him, because they couldn't rely on him mentally, and it shows on the pitch. You can't hide. Everyone always says no. It's impossible to hide on a football pitch, especially at that level. I mean, so yeah. If that answers your question.
Yeah, Ben, Thiago, what's he saying?
Thiago, what's he saying? It's actually interesting because I was going to say a point on the back of the goalkeeper thing, and Thiago feeds into that. It's going to be a bit of a like windy point, but I think basically the game is changing, and it's obviously in a constant state of evolution. And I think when we grew up, the game was a lot more linear in the way it was played. So it was like 4-4-2, and you had a winger ran down the line, then he put in a relatively straight cross, then the forward would try and attack that. And, everything was like, if you're defending, you're going backwards. If you're attacking, you're going forwards. And nowadays, I think there's a lot more kind of system play where people move a lot more out of position. I mean, our fullbacks aren't fullbacks. They're wingers, effectively. They get back every now and again. And I think people are approaching the play in a very different way, in a more three-dimensional kind of way, rather than the straightforward. So I think Christensen would be amazing when we were growing up, and people just ran at you, and he can do the defending bit normally, but it's whenever he gets caught in a position where he needs to make a decision from a 360-degree perspective, he gets lost and then he panics. And I think it's the same thing with De Gea. De Gea is one of the best shot stoppers in the world. In the same way, Mignolet was a fantastic shot stopper, but the way that Liverpool defended, the chances weren't coming from those direct shots. It was coming from attacks that managed to get through. So Mignolet is a great keeper, and I respect him as a goalkeeper. He wasn't a goalkeeper for us. Alisson, I think he even grew up being a midfielder, so he's got that idea that the game is all around him, not just in front of him. And I think that we're going to see that a lot more as the game develops. Going back to Thiago and where Thiago fits into that, I think that's how he sees the game. Like, there was a couple of signs of passes he played where nobody else in our midfield would have seen that pass. And he's looking at the space, he's looking at people moving, like his head was always up, looking around. But I would say the way that he builds the picture in his head is just phenomenal. And I think that's really going to add to us in terms of like our ability, because I mean, we've adapted from it, but particularly when Klopp started, it was very much like fucking shock tactics. Like, we will just fucking keep running at you, and eventually we're going to break you down. Eventually you're not going to have a man there. But I think with Thiago, particularly the way he sits back, like you were saying last week, Callum, people have to come to him. If you're going to stop him, you're going to need to come to him, and that's going to create space, and then Thiago can find it. And to be fair, Fabinho's got like a nice little loop-in pass from back to front on him as well. So I think that's just he's going to change the way that we can play, because he thinks of the game in a more developed way, which, to be honest, Barcelona seem to teach very well to their young players. I mean, you look at Messi's on a different fucking level. I mean, I know he's an exceptional talent, but you've got Messi, you had Xavi, you had Iniesta, you had all of these players that came through, had that ability to see everything that's going on around them. And I think Thiago's with that, and he's got the skill set both offensively and defensively to thrive in the Premier League. So I'm happy, man.
I got a weird question for everyone. I don't know why it's popped up in my head before we move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Fabian Barthez, right?
My guy, I love that guy, man.
This is my question, yeah. So he strikes me as the goalkeeper who he could play football, but he was a shit footballer, basically. Let's put it that way. I'm not talking about a goalkeeper, I'm talking about a footballer. Do you think he was a bit too advanced for his time?
No.
No, do you know what I'm saying? Like, if we're looking at keepers like who can play football, we're looking for that keeper who wants to get the ball, because he used to do some mad Cruyff turns, you know, some serious Cruyff turns, in dangerous times, innit? It didn't always pull off, but I mean, like, if we're looking at the goalkeepers nowadays and stuff like that, I don't know why this popped into my head. He suits that. Do you get what I'm saying? Because under pressure, he's a bit more. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
The thing that I would say, and this is only from my recollection, I've not watched any footage of him recently, so I might be way off base. And like, I'm probably remembering more like the highlight reel of dumb shit he did more than his actual. But from my point of view, I seem to remember he was more we would run out, his focus was solely on the ball, and I think that would be the thing that held him back. Because he was never, when he got in trouble, it's because he didn't know what was happening around him. And don't get me wrong, he had the Cruyff turn in him, but you need to have that time to see somebody to do the Cruyff turn first. I've seen the ball taken off him like easy peasy because he's doing some dumbness.
That was the problem, and that's what a lot of United fans like. You know, that's what me personally. I'll speak for myself. That's what I used to get annoyed about. That's why I've never been a fan of goalkeepers doing a madness. Like I've never. But like you said, the game's changing. People are doing different things. You know, managers are looking for keepers who can play football, and unfortunately, if you can't play football, you're not. It's not going to work. Basically, it's as simple as that. Right. So moving on, obviously.
Sorry, mate. Just wanted to come back on a quick point from Ben about Christensen and his kind of awareness and stuff like that. I think we mentioned it a few times on the podcast about like what makes a good defender. You know, like the art of defending, all that kind of stuff. We talked about it a few times. And we talked about players like, say, John Terry, who didn't have the greatest pace in the world. Or, you know, there is loads of examples you could give, but that's the first one that comes to mind because he was so good but had such bad attributes to his game from a sense, for example, pace, right? But I think Christensen is a perfect example of the awareness, like Ben said, but the mental strength needed in combination with that. And what I mean is, when you look at the example of Mane's of the red card when Mane burst through him, you can see that Christensen physically in space, he didn't know where to be, but mentally he didn't know where to be either. And it was like, if that was Terry, like I'm not saying Terry's perfect, and I know I'm looking at it through rose-tinted glass and whatever, but I can imagine a player like Terry would have maybe dropped off 1 or 2 yards and allowed Mane to make that run, but to be ahead of him in that run, so that if the ball was played through, he had a better chance of getting it, or he at least didn't have to foul him the way that he did, basically. So I think that's the biggest detriment to Christensen's game, and I don't know if it will ever change, to be honest. And that ability to have, like they always say, don't they, having like wing mirrors and knowing exactly where everyone is, creating that picture. You know, like one of my favorite players, well, you already mentioned Iniesta, Ben, players like Modric as well. Like they're all that kind of ability. You mentioned Alisson playing in midfield. I think Edison as well, right? Everyone always says a lot of the City players, Edison could play in centre midfield.
Neuer as well, Neuer. They always said that.
Yeah. Neuer's another one as well. He's got attackers on the ball. Like even sometimes when I've watched, obviously I don't watch them that often, but when I've seen like the highlight reels and stuff like that, I'm like, bro, you can't be doing things like that, man. That kind of, it makes your stomach turn, but he executes it perfectly. You get what I'm saying?
That awareness. Sorry, Dave. Just one last thing is that awareness. I remember reading about a month ago, and some guy did a study into what makes players so good, right? And I can't remember if I mentioned it on the pod, but it was awareness. It was, like when you see Zidane having so much time on the pitch, so much time on the ball, right in the middle of the pitch, where everyone else would be crowded out. He has suddenly 5 or 10 yards of space from nowhere, and that ability.
Kaka used to do that.
Kaka used to do that. So many of those top players can do that, and that's what that study found. He looked at, I think Frank Lampard was one of the players that used to do it. You could go through loads of different players, but it was that ability to be on the swivel, have your head on the swivel, constantly checking behind you and positioning yourself accordingly. And I think as we're discussing it now, keepers have to think that way all the way through, from the back of the team, all the way through to the strikers at the front. You have to have that awareness. And if you don't, you're getting found out today. And it goes back on how the game has evolved. That's what I think.
I think as well, sorry, just to add one more thing. I know we want to move on, but I think as well, that awareness goes to knowing yourself, your ability, and how you need to play off that. So I remember with John Terry, like he always seemed to do, particularly for somebody who was quite slow, a lot of like last man, last ditch defending. That suited his style. Whereas you had Roberto Carvalho, who was a lot more classy, a lot more almost Italian in that style of reading the game, and he would step forward. So you could have Carvalho stepping forward and doing really well and knowing what he was doing, and you had Terry being the last man. Like you're like, oh my god, chance on goal. Oh, Terry's, how the fuck did that slow ass motherfucker get there? But I think that's the thing with Christensen. I think with Christensen's skill set, he's got that kind of classy defender build, that classy defender play, but he needs to now, if he can get that positive mentality in terms of he needs to go get the ball, and then he can't be in positions. That's the issue. Like Christensen versus Mane's always winning. 99 times out of 100. Like you need to, as a defender, as a player nowadays in this game, put yourself in a position where you are effective, because you can't let the other team pick that position for you. If the opposition's picking where they're playing the ball, where they're playing the game, you're already losing the battle. And I think that's where people like Christensen need to go, right, where can I make a difference and actually go to the ball and stand 5 feet further forward and that kind of thing. I would say he's a young lad, but he's not like he's 26 now, is he? It's one of them Lingards, it like catches up with you.
Should know better. Right, moving on. Obviously, the next, the big topic of the weekend was Man United's nonsensical bullshit.
The big top for the weekend.
I'll leave you to
Footnote
it.
at the bottom.
No, no,
Oh, are we doing that? Let me just.
let me get your opinions on this. I just want to see what you guys have to say because I spent over the weekend. Obviously, on the day, I wasn't annoyed or irritated or anything like that. I expected it, innit? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't expect us to play like that. Maybe I didn't necessarily expect a loss. Nobody expects a loss, but I just didn't think the day would turn out the way that it did, innit? You know what I mean? So, but I've listened to a lot of people speak. I've heard so much and stuff like that. You know, I read a lot of articles and whatnot. But I want to hear what your opinion on it is and what do you think happened on that day. Obviously, we lost because I know Ben's probably thinking of all the jokes he could possibly come out with. I know we lost on the day, but what do you think has happened? You know what I mean? What do you think has happened, and what's your opinion on it? Without being biased, let's start off with Callum this time.
What do I think's happened? Team selection plays its part. I don't know why Wan-Bissaka didn't start. What?
I think he was ill. It's corona, I think, so he was isolating. That's what I heard, but he wasn't fit for the game though.
Okay, because I've heard lots of people asking the same question in the last couple of days, so I was just wondering what the deal was. If he obviously was not fit, then fair enough. But if for whatever reason he could have played, I think that was literally that was his game. You know, putting him against Zaha, he knows him inside out. People say that Aaron Wan-Bissaka became a right back because of what he did in training against Zaha at Palace, right? So it's like whether it was, whether he could or couldn't play, it's a real shame that he didn't play because I think that would have had a massive impact on the game. Energy, athleticism, proactivity. There are so many words that come into my mind.
Yeah.
Palace outdid United on most of them. And that's what wins you games at the end of the day when you put it all together. I think.
Well, Ben's smiling and I don't like his smile. I can see you in the corner of my eye. It's got a massive grin. Say, carry on.
I'm just waiting my turn, man.
I didn't watch 100% of the game. I caught most of it, but from what I did see, Palace just wanted it more, man. I don't know what was happening. I don't know what they just gelled more. They don't get me wrong. There was a little bit of luck on both sides. Van der Beek had his slice of luck as well. Good finish when it did come to him, but the actual ball getting to him was obviously involving a bit of luck. I don't really know what to make of United because I don't know how it's going to change. If that makes sense, I don't know what to input or what to give because I don't. It's a complex one. It's a very complex one, and it's weird. It's weird to see how well you guys did at the end of last year.
I'm gonna come to that one. I'm gonna rip that one apart as well.
Go on, Dave.
Ben, let's see what you're saying. What you want to give you a quick view on that?
So I just wanted to say, you were what, 8th at some point last season before you went on your run.
Yeah, before we went on a good run. Yeah.
You did well
8th
at the end of the season.
No, we weren't 8th. I think we were 6th or something stupid like that. We was because the way it worked was that everybody was 2 points or 3 points behind each other. No, we wasn't. No, we weren't. We were 5th. We were 5th because what was happening is to get into top 4, it was always 2 points, and we were behind you lot. We were behind you for time, and every single time every time we got close to Chelsea, we lost the game. When it was an easy game, we lost the game and we couldn't get above you. I think it was 5th place that we was in for a very long time, or something in and about 5th and 6th.
But you had a good run that took you up to 3rd, eventually, right?
I'll rip that one into bits in a second.
Right. I'm interested. Go for it.
I'm so confused. So there's numbers in the league below 4. Oh. That's the thing now.
This is what I said. Yeah, this is what I said. He was grinning too much, and I don't like it.
So this is the thing. On a serious point of view, the reason why I was grinning is because what I find funny is that you were worried about me cussing Man United, whereas Man United, don't get me wrong, and Chelsea, they're both a rival. So Man United is more the historic rival. Chelsea is more the one I grew up with. But it's kind of a friendly, I enjoy. I wouldn't want you guys to be out of the league. I need you there. I want you losing, but I need you strong enough that it means something. at the same time. Whereas my biggest bugbear in that stadium is fucking Roy Hodgson, who I hate with a passion. I've got no redeeming feature for him.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Oh, wait.
Konchesky at left back, are you fucking dumb? You think that is a Liverpool standard? Paulson in midfield. We got Fabinho now, and you're playing Paulson. Jesus.
He was in a different time, Ben. Give the guy a break.
Yeah, my man's like 70
Tried to
something.
replace Alonso and Mascherano with fucking Paulson, man. No, so like this is the thing, and it's going to be a bit of a weird answer. But so first of all, let's talk about Crystal Palace and let's talk about Roy Hodgson, because I think that it's important to keep these people inside of it. And I think what Roy Hodgson is very good at is building a solid tactic. And so his team knows what they're playing. They play their positions, and what I mean by that is like if you play left wing for Roy Hodgson, it's what you would get from a coaching manual. What left back, their left back plays like a left back, their centre back plays like. So beginning of the season, they're always going to play better, while other teams, so Liverpool at the moment look a bit shonky in places because they're building that system back up and making sure they know where people are moving and all of that stuff. Whereas I think Hodgson has an advantage in the way he manages in the first few games of the season, because he's just sending players out with a clear idea of what they've got in their head. Taking it to the Man United side, so we spoke last season quite a lot about, particularly towards the end, about how you seem to have found your team, as in your 11. Like Man United have an 11. Maybe you would improve one or two players, but you've got the 11. And this season should have been about building that squad. You got in Van der Beek, who looks like a good signing, but he's one body through the door. And I think it's a difficult one because it was a bad result and I don't think you played particularly well. But over the course of the season, I would expect you to have had 3 or 4 of these based on the team you had going in and the lack of transfer activity. So right now, because
3 or 4 of those types of incoming players.
No,
3 or 4 of those results.
Right.
Yeah. So this is the thing. So it might feel worse because it's the first game. That's the only thing that has happened to Man United this season. You've had that one. Now, don't get me wrong. If the next 4 games you play are similar results, then you get worried. But if you don't have another result like that for another 10, 11 games, like when you look back at the season, you're like, there's 38 games.
Yeah.
If you have 4 bad ones, based on the team that you've got, and I would argue lack of investment in the team when it's needed. If one of them just happens to be on the first day of the season, it just happens to be on the first day of the season. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a difficult one. It's one of those things that's difficult to judge until a few more games have been played to see whether that's actually the level that you're playing at, or whether that was just an abnormality because it's first day of the season and your guys weren't ready yet.
See, this is the thing, right? So the reason why I asked you guys to give your opinion first is because I feel like Man United has a lot of problems, right? So again, like I said, I've read a lot of things, heard a lot of things and stuff like that. And this is my conclusion on the whole thing. Not even a conclusion, it's an ongoing investigation. Let's put it that way. The thing is, my thing is that I get what you're saying. First game of the season, all that jazz and blah, blah, blah. The thing is, Man United have got too many problems. Certain clubs have problems. They have issues. So usually a lot of people would go, right, you know what? We need to fix that area. And usually you'd see things will start to get better in it. But with Man United, there is too many medium problems and they're not getting resolved. So for example, right, the board is a problem. We all know that. Everyone can see it. Everybody can see it. Whether you're an ex-United player, whether you're a fan, whether you're you're not a fan, you're one of the rival teams, everybody can see that the board is a problem. The next thing is Ed. Everybody can see Ed is making stupid mistakes. He's made loads of stupid mistakes. Yes, he's good at the job of, bringing in the business and making the money. Cool. All respects. We rate that, happy days and whatnot. But when it comes to footballing decisions, it's poor. But everybody can see it. Even down to right. So when it comes down to the manager, as I said, I've always said this, I'm 50-50 in it. But I'm starting to lean more on the side of, I don't think Ollie is good enough to manage United. I think it's too much of a big. Can he get better at the job? Yeah, maybe that's true. Right now, is he do it? Can he take Man United to the next level? I really don't think so. I think last week I said that, I'm buying into him because of the type of players he wants to bring in and stuff like that and whatnot. The problem now I have is outside of that. Outside of the whole press conference, outside of the whole conversations, outside of, playing on game days and stuff like that. Bro, you're the manager. You are the person who needs to go to the board or whoever it is control of recruitment and say, I need these players. If you do not get me, this is why I rated Mourinho to a certain degree. Mourinho don't give a shit. If you don't bring my players, I'm gonna embarrass your whole damn squad. I'm gonna embarrass your team. Period. Does it work? No, it doesn't, because at the end of the day, he gets sacked. But it opens up everyone's eyes. When he came out last time and he was like, bro, we need centre backs. I said this to my mate, yeah. I was like, bro, we've been chasing centre backs since Fergie left. That's how long we've been chasing. That's a good 7-8 years that we've been looking for centre backs, and yet we still have not invested in good ones. Do you get what I'm saying? The only one that we invested in, we invested in Bailly. Bailly's good, injury prone, but the other one is Maguire, and he's looking to have a stinker again this season. Now, everyone's saying first game. That team yesterday, I was thinking about it this morning. That team, I mean, not yesterday, on the weekend. That team on the weekend, yeah, fair enough, granted, everyone's tired and blah, blah, blah. To me, that's all excuses, but, I'll take that. No, I'll take it on board. I'll say, yeah, that's fine. But that team yesterday, even at the fact that got a shit defense and Crystal Palace scored 3 goals, with the attack that we had, we should have outscored them. That game should have ended at least 5-3. Do you get what I'm saying? That's what should have happened, and it didn't. Now, who do you blame? I can't blame the players. I've seen them guys play, at the top brass. I've seen them at their best, innit? Ollie, as I said to you before, I said, yeah, fine, first game, all that stuff. Ollie doesn't have. I'll be blunt about it. He doesn't have tactical awareness. It's trash. I didn't hear what he said. Anyways,
I think he's going away for a minute.
Yeah, yeah. So he hasn't got the tactical awareness. So when I'm looking at that game yesterday, I'm thinking to myself, nothing has changed from last season. Like literally nothing has changed. The only thing that's changed is just that we've brought in one more player. Yes, we do need more players, but the style of play doesn't actually work. Another thing that a lot of fans are bringing up and stuff like that as well is the fact that we always do well about against the top 6 teams. Yes, we do. As I said in the group chat when we was talking, the only reason why we do good against against the top teams and stuff like that is because they attack. It's really easy to beat Man United. It's not that hard. We play counter football. Everybody knows that. We have speed. Everybody knows that. So what these smaller teams do, which they're so good at, and which I'm not taking credit away from Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace played amazing. Zaha should not be playing for Crystal Palace. He is on a different level compared to that team. But it's so easy to beat us. We play a counter-attacking football. So when we come against these smaller teams who now want to do exactly the same thing, they're going to put 11 men behind the ball. As you saw in that game, our defensive line was sitting on the midfield. Was sitting in midfield, which made no sense to me when you've got someone like Ayew and Zaha who's got blistering pace. And then our centre backs are Lindelof and what's his name? And Maguire. That makes and people will go, but he's got tactics. And I'm thinking, bruv, are you nuts? I haven't got bad coaching badges. I wouldn't do that. I play FM. I wouldn't do that on FM. It doesn't make no sense. Do you get what I'm saying?
I think so. There's 2 things that I want to pick up that you said. First of all, I apologise if I have said it incorrectly. So when I say talking about the first game of the season and to be expected, is what I mean is not necessarily so with Solskjaer. And I like Solskjaer, but I think he's only an interim. He's a good person to get the club back to a level.
He's steady
and then have someone then move on, kind of thing. But what I mean by the first game of the season is like with Solskjaer in charge, he isn't the most tactical manager. With the team that you've got, you need to expect to lose some games. Now that's difficult to do because as a fan you want to win everything. But if you look at it, with the lack of tactics, with your probably over defensive style of play, with OGS in charge, you're going to lose some of these games.
Oh, we're going to lose a lot of these games.
And this is the thing, I don't know whether it's going to be a massive thing because we've only got a sample size of 1 at the moment, haven't you? You've just played the 1 game.
No. See, this is my point. This is the point I was trying to make to you is that yes, we've played that 1 game, but it's only been a month since the last game. Sevilla?
Yeah.
There's no difference. That we played. It's the same style. It's the same. It's like
But
the
yeah,
last. So just to pick up on what Callum was saying earlier on about we had a good run and stuff like that. Again, for me, what I don't know how many of them games that you watch, but a lot of those games we were lucky. I think we drew against West Ham or something like that. And I was like, bro, I don't understand. You were firing, we were scoring like 4 or 5 goals when we came back or something like that per game, and then all of a sudden it
yeah.
dropped to now scraping for goals. So I look at it and I go, well, not much has actually changed from a month ago to now.
This is exactly what I'm saying.
Mm.
Nothing's changed, so you're going to have to put up as a fan
Oh,
base.
no,
This is
so
what
you
exactly
guys
what I'm saying.
when we take the L, I smile because I'm
Yeah,
like good.
yeah,
Because when we take the L, the same. Listen, at the end of the day, and that's why I'm kind of happy. I think when that loss happened, I wasn't that bothered because I was like, I was looking forward to the week because I was like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen now. I want to see what people are going to say. And apparently, Gary Neville's come out. Evra again. Like, if you guys haven't seen the video, watch it. Evra came out and kind of spilled his heart out a little bit, and it was like, well, I don't say a little bit, but quite a lot after his comments about Zaha and David Moyes' daughter, and
Shit, boy.
he's come out and he said quite a lot actually, and he was talking about the Glazers. He was talking about who's destroying the club. He's talking about signings and all that stuff and whatnot. And for everything that he was saying, I was like, it makes perfect sense. And I think the club needs to realize that, Rod, you know what? We can't just walk over these fans and all over the
yeah.
world like that. We can't just walk over. We need to actually do something about it.
So
Um,
this is as well the second thing that I wanted to bring up. You're talking at the beginning like where your problems lie, and you listed a bunch of them. It's at the top. It's as simple as that. Like I know you've got other problems,
yeah,
but
yeah,
at
yeah.
the end of the day, if you look at football clubs that have success, it is because their board members or their owners or whatever the club structure of the club is know
Mm-hmm.
what they're doing. So
Yeah,
Liverpool are doing well because we've got owners who they know the commercial side. They've helped boost that. They've helped boost the revenue. They've got more money into the club. But they specifically went out and hired Edwards because they didn't get the football side of it. So
mm-hmm.
anything football related, they leave to Edwards. This is Edwards that got like 20 million for fucking Solanke and like 15 million for Jordan Ive. So he knows what he's doing. It's about putting those pieces in place. You can look at Chelsea, and Chelsea, you can literally, like, if you wanted to do a graph, you could show where Chelsea have got good people in footballing positions
And
and their level of success, and when they've changed people, chopped and changed, and they changed directors or whatever, and then you have a dip because you need to have that structure in place. Like the manager, at the end of the day, like you said, Ollie needs to fight for transfers, but he shouldn't have to. It should
yeah,
be in a position where he is sat down in a meeting with somebody and they're like, right, how do we work together to fill the gaps in your team? He should need to go beg. Like, I mean, I know, he can't get greedy and stuff like that, but we
oh,
have it at Liverpool. Klopp sits down with Edwards and the scouts and other people, like there's a group of like 5 or 6 people, and they have a conversation as peers. And
mm-hmm.
it's literally the whole club just being like, how do we make the team better? It shouldn't have to be the manager going,
And
pulling on coattails, like, please, can I have a bit more pocket money?
and
Like,
this is the thing, and as I said to you, as I said at the beginning, we have too many problems. That's the whole issue with Man United. And you're right, it is the top. That's the first. That's the first.
but like, so this is the thing. So you mentioned Ed as a problem. But if your owners knew what they were doing, they would have Ed as commercial director, and that's it. He's
Yeah, but
phenomenal at
I
that.
think
He's the best in the world at that. But he can't run that football club, and we can see that because we can check your league position for the last
but
5, 6, 7 years.
said this before, and I said this before. I can't remember if we said this in a podcast or I said it in a group chat. I was like, the Glazers need to be a little bit smarter as well. To be like, look, you know what, on the pitch it's not working well. They're the only people that need to make that decision about Ed, because Ed turning around
Yeah,
and speaking to people and saying, oh, we need I'm gonna have a look at getting a football director or sporting director or whatnot. That's not your decision. Where did you come from to make that decision? That's not up to you. That's up to the Glazers. Do you get what I'm saying?
100%. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
to them to do it. But going off what you said, the reason why I don't think that happened is because I don't know what Ed is doing, but Ed must be doing some serious things in the office. Yeah, he must be doing some serious things in the office. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
do you know what I mean? To be able to start running that club anyhow he wants to run it. But as I said to you, yeah, there's I think right now for United, right, a lot of fans need to, keep the energy up. I know the energy is mad. Everyone's on Glazers, everyone's on bare things. In terms of, Ollie, again, at the moment, do what you're doing and whatnot. I don't think the tactical awareness is there or anything like that. But is that something he's gonna learn? I don't know. Maybe. Do you know what I mean? He does.
Slowly.
Yes,
It's not going to be quick enough, I think, is the
he
thing.
needs a plan B because all this attacking football and all this, everyone just run like headless chickens. It doesn't make no sense. It doesn't work. Do you get what I'm saying? So we just have to kind of see how it goes. Again, today, I'm I'm not gonna lie. This is people will say, yeah, you're a bad supporter, bro. Take the L because when we take the L,
Yeah.
things like this happen. Things move. People start thinking, bro. And again, as I said to you, like Ed needs to come into question. People need to start asking Ed the question. It's all well and good people saying Ollie is not tactical, all this stuff and whatnot. All those ex-players like Gary Neville and all them man there, like whatever it did, you need to start asking people like Ed the questions, bro. What are you doing? What is your plan? Because whatever you've been doing for the last 8 years has not worked. It hasn't whatsoever. But you know, take
See,
every
I think it's one of
game.
those things, and just add a couple more fucking whips of the I don't think Ed should have to. If Ed is doing his job, he shouldn't have to explain what he's doing. You
What
should
job?
be able. So if Ed is doing a job of, he's director of whatever he is, but if he's effectively running Man United, yeah,
He's
you
everything.
shouldn't.
Every role.
And I'm agreeing with what you're saying, but
Yeah.
he shouldn't have to explain because you, as a fan, should be able to look at the club, look at
Oh
what
yeah.
the club is
100%.
doing, and go.
100%.
So I don't think I've ever heard Edwards talk,
Yeah.
but I know what he's doing. I know where his head's at because I can see it in every transfer dealing, like every deal that we sign, everything. I'm like, I know where this club is heading. And like, this is why I was calm. People were losing their shit this summer. Liverpool fans, like, we haven't bought anyone. We've only got Costas, this left back no one's ever heard of. Like, what we doing, what we doing. And I'm just there, like, it's either going to happen now or it's going to happen later, but we're going to get
Some.
somebody in, and there's no point in forcing it.
No, do
Then
you
in
know
three
what
days, we got Thiago and Jota, and it's like,
happened with the way that you man done transfers and the way Chelsea done it, even Arsenal as well to a certain degree, it's smooth, innit? It's like shit. You know what? We're struggling in areas, bang, bang, bang. Whereas with Man United, again, if Ed is director of everything, of life, then you kind of have to look at him and go, bro, what? I don't understand.
yeah,
Like, what? Where are you going wrong? What? And again, if we go further up, the Glazers should be coming in and looking at their investment and going, why? So, for example, I take this for example, right? In the last press conference, I think Ollie had a conversation. I didn't watch it, but I was hearing about it. A conversation came up about they're not happy with the social media backlash that they're getting from fans and so on and so forth and stuff like that. Now, Man United has this big thing about social media. How many numbers have we got? Blah blah blah, because it helps the commercial side of it. So I'm sitting there thinking, in this meeting, do you guys not sit there and think, why are people doing this? Or as the CEO or as the owner of this club, do you not turn around and go to Ed and say, okay, cool, we're hot topic, we're clickbait, basically. Man United is clickbait, regardless of the situation.
yeah.
Right, why is everyone having a negative spin on it? What are you doing to make this positive? I'm not just talking about words, I'm talking about actions. Because as I said to you, that's why I asked you guys in the beginning of your own opinion. Everybody knows what's going on at Man United. The
Oh
only
god,
people
yeah,
that don't seem to know is Ed or the Glazers. It's up
yeah.
on that section where there's a big, massive. There must be a big, massive miscommunication. Do you get what I'm saying? But
I'm I'm gonna be honest.
oh,
But in terms of, so I'm always there, like, if I can't work out what a company's product is, so like, essentially Man United are selling football to Man United fans,
yeah, yeah,
and they
yeah,
put a team in, and you buy the shirt, you buy the ticket, you buy the subscription, like all of that stuff. That's what you're doing. You're selling a product of football. They said Man United are charging a premium for you to have not a product of football. Nothing that the fans want
yeah,
is getting done. So at which point, if you can't see the product that you're paying for, you're the product.
yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah, yeah.
think that's the issue with Man United. Man United isn't about selling football to Man United
No,
fans.
no, no.
Man United has become about selling Man United fans to whatever fucking company will pay money for them.
This
And
is
I
it.
think that's the issue until you start, and it's a terrible thing to like say, but until Man United fans start switching off their TVs and then Ed's getting called into meetings like, how come our viewing figures are down by half?
Listen, I remember
That's,
once, yeah,
nothing's going to happen.
a Man United fan called into MUTV and then shouted out Glazers out, and they cut him off. And I was like, shit, bro. But yeah, no, that's but you know what? That's United for you, man. You know, the same thing is going to be happening for a while, and so maybe this weekend has changed something. I highly doubt it, but you know what? We'll see. We'll probably be saying this shit when we get smacked by Brighton as well. So it is what it is. But moving on, another last topics today.
John on United, mate. Sorry about before, guys. Some waste man was at the door. We just quickly, yeah. I think we talked about it before, Ben, when we were just doing the audio podcast about the problems at Arsenal, kind of right at the beginning of the year. We were talking about how when you look at Liverpool, you see them as like one entity moving in one direction, and we used Arsenal at that time as an example of like nobody knew what was going on. You know, Emery was in charge, all players were doing all sorts of madness, whatever. And I think it kind of follows on from what you were saying about it starts at the top, in that when you see the product of something and it seems effortless, you, as in like no news is good news kind of thing. That's when you know that it's going right. And when you look at Man United of past, when you had, you know, Ferguson in charge of the actual football side, you had David Gill in charge of, you know, the finances and operations and all that kind of stuff. And then you have like, whoever was above David Gill, the shareholders and all that kind of stuff. Those people, maybe like Ferguson was clearly not born a Man United fan, but you could see his love and his passion for it, right?
It's what everyone's saying.
Yeah, when I look at Liverpool now, you have Peter Moore, the CEO. He is a Liverpool fan. When you see that man talk about Liverpool Football Club, you're like, shit, this guy actually, like, he actually gives a shit. Like, he's trying to improve that club. Mike Edwards lets his actions do all the talking. Like Ben said, we don't even hear a word from him, but his actions speak enough. And then obviously, don't need to say anything about Jurgen Klopp. But the point being that right from the top, all the way through to the players playing on the pitch, you have that single entity, that single driving force towards a common goal. For us, like exactly like Ben said, the number of times that we've been frustrated as Chelsea fans, like seeing the club effectively like hurt itself by making bad decisions at the top of the tree, is so frustrating to see. I've like been there. Obviously, Man United is a kind of a different beast because of what Man United is. But now that we have, you know, like no one can really question Abramovich's loyalty to the club or passion to back the club, anything like that. No one can do that. And now below him we have Marina, then we have Petr Cech, and now we have Lampard. And that clear definition of it's like on the pitch, you get your spine, get your spine right, and everything just follows through smoothly. And we've literally demonstrated that this transfer window.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? It's effortless. That's what I think Man United's problem is, but I don't know how that's going to change.
Mate, that's the thing.
Can I just quickly pick up just one thing from that? So you mentioned when we did the audio podcast, which is still available on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts, we're on Amazon now, aren't we? Amazon Music. Jesus. However, but just to let you all know, if you are listening via audio sources, we are now doing it on YouTube, so you can see our faces. It's worth coming on and subscribing just to see Deji's reactions, like his facial tics whenever certain people get mentioned.
We can't forget the backgrounds.
Yeah, the backgrounds. There will be like jokes in the backgrounds moving forward, I'm sure. Expect at some point to see David Luiz behind my face.
Yeah, I made a promise to D as well. So fuck Arsenal still. You man are still dead. Continue to win. Make up shit. I made a promise to him that I was gonna rip into the minute, so had to do that.
Please, one week when David Luiz messes up, can we all put David Luiz as our background?
100%.
Starts and D talks done. He just sees David Luiz.
But yeah, no, going off on what you said, yeah, about Man United changing. It's not. Listen, I'm gonna be very honest with you. You know, we can put hashtag Glazers out and all that stuff. But all that stuff don't matter, bro. These men are not gonna. Let's be realistic. It's not like they're gonna go, oh shit, 20 million people put hashtag Glazers out. Let's pack our bags and go. It's
That's
not.
what I mean. That's what I mean by I don't know what's going to change.
It's,
So,
it's down. It's
so
down to them to make.
this is the thing.
That,
Sorry to cut you off, but this is the thing. If Glazer's out, it's trending. I bet you anything, Man United are trending too.
yeah.
Because people are going to be like, they're talking about Man United, they have hashtag Glazers out. So this is the issue. Like, the only thing I think that is going to change Man United is if there's nothing.
Yeah.
If Twitter stops, if it drops significantly, if Twitter stops talking about Man United,
it can't happen. And the reason why it can't happen is
I know you're fucked, basically.
Man United, like, you can have on one weekend, Bournemouth smack Chelsea 6-0. Something stupid like that, innit?
Kelechi's burning right now.
Yeah, 6-0. Yeah. You can have that. But Man United lose 1-0 to Brighton or something, that becomes news for whatever reason. All of a sudden, it becomes Ed. All of a sudden, it becomes Glazers. And then you forget about the 6-0 smacking. And that's the problem. And it's never going to stop. It's just always going to be like that. But you know what? Let's move on to the last subject of the day. Obviously, we've seen a lot of teams, a lot of the smaller teams, I don't know if you guys would agree, a lot of the smaller teams are starting to pick up a lot of high-profile players. Maybe not the highest, but they're picking up 1-2 players who can do a little bit of damage. So today, I thought, you know, what we'll do is maybe on going forward, what we might bring you guys is looking at a lot of the so-called smaller teams and picking out players that maybe one of our guys could have picked up for the performance. And one of the ones I think we should start off this week is Everton. Obviously, they picked up, you know, fantastic midfielders in Alan. So Alan, I've watched I've watched the first 2 Everton games. I ain't really seen Alan do too much like that, but they picked up James and James Rodriguez and Doucouré. Is it Doucouré? Yeah. Picked up Doucouré as well. Them two are on a different level. That is beautiful signings for me. Absolutely. When I watch, I think Everton and West Brom, mate, I'm not gonna say there's one pass here that James made. Yeah, I dropped on the floor. I fell off my chair. I was like, bro, that pass was fantastic. Perlo would have been proud of that pass. Not getting too excited before everyone starts losing it. But, yeah, no, it was fantastic, man. But yeah, man, I think they are moving in the right direction with them 3.
So I think we spoke about it in the first week, and they bought a midfield. And it's a balanced midfield. Like, that's what they've done. They've gone out. And it's interesting you picked up on Alan. Alan is one of those midfielders. So obviously he used to play for Napoli. So played Liverpool a couple of times. You're not really going to notice what he does until the opposition starts playing well. And then he is fucking on you. Like, he's one of those, like, foot in. Like, your players will be falling down. When Man United are playing Everton and your midfielders all lying on the floor, that was Alan. Like, but they balance it so well. Like, he is so good at that. You've got Doucouré, who is like a great box to box. Like, he's almost like Pogba. You just want to just let him be. Do your thing. And James Rodriguez is football. Like we were talking earlier in the show. It's about having that footballing brain, and like, he sees everybody on the pitch at all times, and he sees the space, he sees the gaps. It's quite funny actually, because if you look at his stats for Real Madrid and Bayern Munich, his stats are fucking phenomenal. Like, people are like, oh, what's he done for years? And like, if you look at his stats, they're good. He just didn't get the game time.
Yeah, I overrated. I admit, I overrated him. Oh no, sorry, no, I didn't overrate.
Underrated him, yeah.
I thought it was overrated, to be fair. Like, I actually.
No, he just. For me, like, don't get me wrong. Like, there will be certain games, like if he's playing against a team that has a really tight low block, he might have trouble finding that. But I think that he's going to light up the Premier League this season.
Yeah, he played sick. Callum, anything?
Ben, how do you feel talking about an Everton?
I knew this was going to come up.
It's I'm quite happy with Everton at the moment because they got rid of that snake Marco Silva. So they've got like a brief period of, they brought some good players to the Premier League. So I'm quite chill at the moment. Okay. Give me a few games and then it will start to wear down, and
we'll wait for the Liverpool derby, the Mersey derby. Yeah, then we'll see.
Yeah. That should be an interesting game though.
Yeah.
Be good. No, I mean, like, you ask any fan of football, but specifically fan of Chelsea out there, and they will only have good words to say about Carlo Ancelotti, first and foremost. I think the guy is well respected.
From that guy. Okay.
Yeah, that guy won an FA Cup, Premier League, got sacked.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, we'll leave that one there. But like,
I just saw his fucking spirit crumple like a crisp packet there, man. That was his Callum's. He was he's in flow. He was looking off wistfully when he started Ancelotti, and you're like 5. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
no, like it kind of does go back to what we were saying before about having that structure from the top of the club going right down that spine. And I think that Ancelotti has kind of brought that to Everton. He might have completed a large part of that spine. Obviously, we can't say how long he's going to be at Everton for or anything along those lines at this point in time. But I do believe that there are certain managers out there, when you hear their name, you, one, respect it, two, want to fight for it, as managers like Klopp and kind of like Lampard is starting to show now his draw for players to want to come and play for him. And I think Ancelotti is like arguably at the top of that list to be able to bag players like James. Just shows his draw. And I think that, yeah, like we said, they basically bought a midfield, a well-balanced machine that can work almost like I get the feeling that Ancelotti almost has to do nothing with them in training, because it's like you have Alan, you're like, Alan, you know your job. Doucouré, you know your job. James, just do your thing. And now let me concentrate on building players like Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, and building our wing backs and teaching them, you know, how to play the game. That centre mid, that kind of engine room of your team, that's done. Just let them do their thing.
He's done a good job with, as you said, like building the other players in terms of Calvert-Lewin, isn't it?
Yeah, Calvert-Lewin, yeah.
Calvert-Lewin, yeah. I think he's done a good job because, you know, in the last 2 games that I've watched, mate, he's near enough a perfect number 9. Do you know what I mean? Fox is this kind of player. I was quite amazed. I was like, especially when you've got someone like James, you know, dinking it into you and stuff like that. You know, then opportunities are going to come flying. And I think, you know, the question goes out. You know, is Everton a dark horse? You know, are they
100%.
next in line? Do you get what I'm saying?
I think so. I think so. Like, don't get me wrong. I am in no way saying that Ancelotti doesn't have to do anything with his midfield. What I was saying was going back to the effortlessness of having that kind of smooth transition from defense to attack. That is a massive, like, that is not in his thoughts in terms of his focus and where he needs to focus on building. That's basically what I was saying.
So I think, to be honest, there's 2 things in there, and there's one is that, so we spoke about the tail end of last season. Like, Man United have a good team, and they have a team for, if you're just on paper as a single tactic, we're not talking about changing it. Man United now have a team, and you saw it when Bruno came in, it just let everybody play their positions. And I think you've got, with that midfield, you've kind of got them coming in, and it allows everybody around them to just play their position. So Calvert-Lewin is doing better because he's not having to drop deep anymore. He's not having to do things that weren't outside of his role to try and, because you've got it, you know, it's just like, you focus on that, James will do this bit. And then I think as well, it's just in terms of the quality. So it was during the Liverpool-Chelsea game, I think the commentators were talking, Carragher in particular, about the step up to the first team. And he says, so Redknapp went ahead of him. And he was talking about Jamie Redknapp when he was at the club. And Carragher's like, what's it like when you step up to the first team? And Redknapp is like, it actually gets so much easier because you're suddenly playing with a better quality of player. So if you're the top of your like age group at youth football, you're like carrying the team, and then you step up, and a lot of this stuff gets easier because all of a sudden the passes that you're getting are better, the runs that other people are making are better, the defenders behind you are better. So you can just focus on, and I think that is the thing that Everton are getting both of that. Now people can just play their positions, but also because you've got Calvert-Lewin with Rodriguez behind him, or Doucouré breaking and making space, he not only has a shorter role of what he needs to do, but at the same time, he's also got the benefit of having better players around him, making even that job easier. Yeah. So I think you're going to look through the team. I think that's what they've done. They've built a team in a season.
Yeah.
Don't know why Man United couldn't have done that.
But it's honest, isn't it? It's honest.
Yeah,
It's honest. We can't do that because we're just a nonsensical club.
yeah.
And it's as simple as that. All right, cool. Well, guys, well, thank you very much for watching. As I said, or as Ben said earlier on, you can find us on a lot of other podcast platforms. So we got Amazon, we've got Spotify. You can obviously find us on YouTube. Please, share, subscribe, like, do everything.
Give us your
So
thoughts,
to
guys.
get out there. Yeah, give us leave some comments as well. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, Asda, I bought your custard, so sponsor us still. You get what I'm saying? But yeah, guys.
Yeah. So if you can comment below how many custard creams you think Deji can get in his mouth in one go. If we have 10 people comment next week, we'll do that.
Let's not do that. That's behavior. But, thank you very much for watching. Yeah, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe. Hit us up on Twitter as well for anything. And yeah, man, peace out.
Take care, guys.
Peace.